The host started this webinar. Alert, this webinar is being recorded. Alert, this meeting is being recorded.
Really quickly, do we have a host who's able to spotlight the interpreters?
Yes, I can do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenny.
This is nice.
Yes, Charles Kearney, I'm curious, do I have to keep holding down the controls so that Jaws won't keep talking?
Turn it off. I mean, hit the JAWS key on your right, and then hit space bar, and then hit S, and that'll silence the JAWS. Isn't that right, Neil?
I can just put it on mute.
Yes.
That would help, but I know a lot of times Zoom calls different things. Y'all, the host can operate, it individually. So that's why I was asking. You want me to put it on mute, or can y'all do it?
No, you need to put it on mute.
Okay, no problem.
Hi,
Can y'all hear
everyone.
me?
We
Good
can
evening.
hear you, yes.
Okay, I guess I did it right. Good.
We just wanted to say that thank you, welcome our attendees. And right now we have our interpreter spotlit at the top. If you'd like to see in gallery view, you can go up to view and click gallery as well, whatever works best for your viewing and listening experience. And we're going to get started in just a moment.
Okay.
Got some folks as attendees. We got a number of people in there as attendees, so that's good.
Are you ready to start, Patrick?
I think we're ready to start, and so we'll just press record, and then Freddie, if you want to give us a beginning.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today, we are going to have a panel discussion entitled Blindness and Black History, which will be held at the Martin Luther King Library in the auditorium. And today is Thursday, February 17th. The program will include, I believe, 6 panelists, and I'm going to ask Patrick if he would introduce the panelists.
Sure. Thank you, Freddie.
Okay.
My name is
Sure.
Patrick. My name is Patrick Timoney. I'm a librarian for assistive technology in the Center for Accessibility at the DC Public Library. I'm a white male with short hair and glasses. I'm wearing earphones, and my pronouns are he, him. February is Black History Month, and in honor of this, the Center for Accessibility invites a panel of distinguished guests to give a presentation entitled Blindness and Black History. It will help participants draw connections at the intersection of these two identities and provide panel members with the opportunity to speak from their personal experience. There are a number of questions that we might ask. Freddie's going to be asking the questions. She's the facilitator. And I'll just introduce some of the panel, or all of the panel members here. So we'll start with Sammy Clay, who is a liaison between the library and the Veterans Administration Blindness Program. Reverend Ray Razor is the host of the Sight and Vision Disability Talk radio show. Lieber Robinson is the owner and CEO of Ensight VIP Services, LLC. Freddie Pico is author of the online essay, Blindness and Black History, One Leader's Perspective, and a longtime employee of the Library of Congress National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled. Charles Kearney III is veteran and a volunteer adaptive technology trainer in the DC Public Library Center for Accessibility. Anil Lewis is author of the online essay, Being Black, Help Me Be Blind, and Being Blind, Help Me Understand That Black Lives Matter, and executive director of blindness initiatives at the National Federation of the Blind in Baltimore. So with that, I'll let Take it away, Freddie.
All right. I'm going to open up the first question for whomever would like to answer that. The question is, wait a minute, I lost my place. First of all, how did you learn about the program? Who would like to go first? And you can make your answers short. How did you learn about the library and this special program?
This is Anil. I was just honored to receive an invitation to participate. So thank you.
Reverend Ray Razor, I was honored and pleased to also receive an invitation from Patrick.
This is Libra
Tammy,
Robinson. Mine is, oh, sorry, Miss Clay, you may go first.
Okay. I'm Tammy Clay, and I learned about it because Patrick called me and asked me if I would like to participate about the program. But the library, I learned about it a long time ago.
And my answer is the same. Mr. Patrick Timothy contacted me and asked me would I like to be a part of the program, and of course I said yes.
I'm Charles
Okay.
Kearney. Patrick Timothy called me and asked me if I wanted to participate in the program, and I, of course, also said yes.
Okay, then, Patrick, will you just introduce the other panel members, or did you get them all?
Yeah, I got everybody.
Okay. Now, the first question is, who were the leaders in the blind and Black community who paved the way for you to receive a proper education back in your early years and opportunities for gainful employment? Who'd like to go first? Don't all speak at once.
Okay, I will. Charles Kearney. Actually, after I became blind, I went to Columbia Lives of the Blind, and after that, I found myself up at UDC, but I had a problem up at UDC because being Black and blind and disabled, we didn't have our materials. Mid-term, we still didn't have our books and anything. I had 5 classes, had an F in mid-term in every class. Reason why Patrick asked me, someone who influenced me who was Black and blind, I have to say Richard Walters. Because Richard Walters.
Say whom?
Richard Walters. I think a lot of y'all know
Richard Walters.
But
Yeah.
he was,
Richard Walters, yes.
he was working Disability Support Service Office up at UDC. And he took it upon
Okay.
himself to find out what chapters I had to do. I went on the old machine, it was called the Reading Edge, and recorded the work. And from there, I went from F and mid-term to B's and all the classes. But that was the thing. I really, he really influenced me because he was Black and he blind, and he took the initiative and he assisted me into something where I was just completely lost. But that's why I say Richard Walters. But also, listen to the Washington, I hear that American University, they have a problem with disability services, where students up there is having a problem getting the materials. And I heard also from GW about a month ago, a young lady, I don't know, her race or color, she was Black, but she went to a class and they turned her down because she had a guide dog. So
Oh my goodness.
that was the thing where I picked Richard Walters. But you have so many honorary people, just about everybody on the panel. And I also got to mention Mr. Adobe Akaji. He's president of Black and Blind, that has a lot of influence on, assisting me with doing the everyday things that I do in life.
All right. Well, let me ask another question. What are the discriminatory policies and practices that prevented you from living the way you wanted to and how couldn't they be addressed?
Freddie,
Any one of you can answer that.
Freddie, before we go to
Yes.
that, I think we'd like to hear from the other panelists about who influenced them. I think.
Well, we might, but we don't have that much time. We can hear one more panelist. Who would like to speak?
Me, I'm Sammy Clay. I learned not this particular program, but I was influenced by Miss Linda Black when I joined the NFB because somebody told me it was there. I didn't even know the VA was in the city. But Miss Linda Black was the treasurer of the NFB club that I belong to at Don Galloway. She influenced me to, she influenced me to go to the VA and to meet Ms. Lily. At that time, her name was Storm, and Ms. Lily Kennedy now, who is the director of the Vassar Group at the VA. And both of them together made me aware of all of the things that I hadn't already taught myself about that I needed to know being blind, you know, like walking with a cane, like learning my way around the neighborhood. They helped me learn those things. And Lily sent me to West Haven to go to the rehab center, and since Linda Black and Mrs. Kennedy and also Mrs. Green, who was at the library then when I was losing my vision, where I went to get my talking book, she helped me. And since then, with those three people, I know the library, I know the VA, I can get around, I can do things and not worry about being blind. And when somebody discriminates against me, I don't participate with them anymore. You know, like stores, I let them know why they can't have my money anymore. I was too old to get hired. When I came here because when I lost my vision, I'd already been retired from the military about 20 years, maybe a little more than that, and so I wasn't. But I like to go out and find out things that blind people can do and where we can go and be entertained or meet other people or do things like the library and the VA if you're a veteran. And I share these resources if I can because these people help me and I want to help anybody I can.
Great. Anybody else want to address that question? Okay, well, considering our hour, let me just move on. What are the discriminatory policies and practices that prevent blind and Black people from living the life they want, and how should they be addressed? Now, I know that's a heavy question, but let's just give it a little consideration.
Let's give it to a heavy person, Neil or Libra.
I take a bite of it, but
all right, just
Sure. I think that to bring it in perspective with one of the policies that the National Federation of the Blind is dealing with, and I think it does adversely affect people of color. There's still a lot of sheltered workshops out there that hire blind people, and they pay them sub-minimum wages, you know, sometimes pennies per hour, and it's legal through a provision in the Fair Labor Standards Act, Section 14C. And because there's kind of overt discrimination based on race, and even more because of disability, I think a disproportionate number of people of color are in those particular situations. So we're advocating that the law be repealed, for one, and then as an organization, the National Federation of the Blind also continues to work to lift people up, to let them know that they are better and capable and able to do better than just working in the shelter person.
You said we. Who is the we? I missed that.
National Federation of the Blind.
Oh, okay. You said we, and I didn't catch the who. All right. Anybody else like to take a little bit on that?
Libra.
All right, we'll move. Ray, did you say something?
Yeah, I say Libra. Libra.
Well, Libra isn't speaking up. Okay. This is a question that I think of a lot. What can we do to make resources for obtaining services and current and accurate information readily available to people who are at the intersection of blindness and Black history, who are just beginning, in other words, when I say at the intersection. Dr. Reverend Razor, why don't you start that discussion for me?
All righty. Well, let me say this. Currently, I'm employed with, I'm on the staff of a Prince George's County at-large councilman, Mr. Hawkins. I am the constituent service liaison, and my concentration is on person with disabilities and seniors. And one of the things that I have noticed that if Black blind people do not get involved with knowing who their representatives are and get involved, and NFB does a great job of this legislatively. If you do not get involved with what's going on in your community, being part of these committees and all, you are just part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. And I tell people all the time that they need to know who their representatives are, their local representatives, and as they say, all politics is local. So blind people need to be involved, and Black, especially Black, involved with running for these. You don't have to run for congressman, you don't have to run for senator, but you certainly can run for city councilman. There's a number of positions that blind people should be running for. And just like in DC, we have no person with a disability in none of the offices there, and none of the county, the city council people, ANC people, and of course we're going to be working on Sean Calloway to try to prep him to do that. But we have to be involved. We have to sit at the table. And when I have the privilege to, at my job with my councilman, sometime sit in on the different budget hearings and and those kind of things, I see what people come there. And it's one thing to make a phone call. It's another thing to send a letter. But people have a different relationship with you when they see you face to face. So we have to be intentional. Yeah. We have to be intentional. And I know everybody is busy doing 100,000 million things, but if you're not at the table and part of the decision making, then you're just going to have to end up taking what crumbs that fall from the table. So that's my spill on it.
Okay, yes,
great,
this is Libra.
Great.
This is Libra Robinson. I would like to answer the question as well.
Sure.
Okay, so when you asked the question, you stated the intersection or people that's just starting. I think the way that we can get the resources out is to really make them available in places that doesn't have anything necessarily to do with blindness. For instance, in our ophthalmology offices, we see a lot of pamphlets about different things, but nothing about the NFB or ACB or just what would happen if you happen to lose your sight. I think it should be in areas where there's Braille available. If there's Braille there should be information about blindness organizations. I know for me, I was blind for a number of years before I even heard about any kind of blindness organization. I had numerous eye surgeries, and I had an eye disease, but after all of the treatment was over, I was just sent home with no information or anything of that nature. So I think doctor offices, anywhere like that should have some kind of basic blindness information. I think billboards are necessary sometimes, maybe. I also think, as I stated before, anywhere that there's any kind of Braille or anything associated with blindness, it should be a little piece of information there, as well as organizations, just places that people frequent in general, the Safeway. You go there, you can see the Inquirer and the Star. You can see all kinds of pamphlets about apartment rentals, but there should be information there about blindness or vision loss, not only because of diseases, but because even our senior population is losing vision gradually. So you don't necessarily have to be blind to have this resource and this information. Thank you.
Well, you're absolutely right. I went to one doctor's office and they thought they were really doing well. They had one Braille magazine that was over a year old. So I told them, I said, well, let me bring you some additional things and subscribe to these things for your office. But I will say that was the only office that I saw anything, even old something. But I think you really hit it right on the money. Did anybody else have a comment on that?
This is Anil. I had one thing to offer when Reverend Rage was talking about intentional. I think the other thing we have to be intentional about is educating ourselves. So I went blind later in life. I was 25 years old, so I'd lived a significant amount of my life as a sighted person. And I think in the context of both what we're dealing with in society now with respect to the awareness and education, and also put it in the context of the library for the blind, I think that we have to be intentional about going out there and getting the real information about our history. I mean, I came up through the public school system, and the history that I learned about, Black history, we learned about Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King, et cetera. But
yeah,
a lot of the real story wasn't really told. So now you have books out there like White Rage, White Fragility, Harriet, that are telling things that I didn't know about. Sure, we knew that Harriet Tubman had the Underground Railroad, but we didn't realize or taught that she was an instrumental figure in the fight in the Civil War, helping guide Union troops. A lot of the things that we should have been aware of to make us take even more pride, one, in who we are as a race, and then also the other piece is really understanding the true systemic discrimination. And I'm ashamed to say that, I was intentional, and thanks to the Library for the Blind, which provided a lot of the information in an alternative format, I was able to get more real information about the things that I had been taught before. I know that the current controversy around what people are labeling critical race theory is problematic, but I still see that as really history, but it's told from a different perspective. And unfortunately, those who benefited from the glazing over of it are now feeling the stress and the anxiety that we were experiencing based on the historic.
Exactly, yeah.
So be intentional about
Go
learning
ahead.
about our real history.
Yeah, you really hit it, because I would say, what are some of the discriminatory practices and procedures that prevent blind people from living the life they wanted to? And how can we address this situation?
Ms. Pico, I think this is Sammy Clay again. I think that the best information that the sighted world get about blindness, unless they have a family member that's blind or low vision, the best information they get is on White Cane Day. It's in the newspapers. But after the newspapers, after that day, it goes in the trash can, and you have to wait till next year for it to come. One day a year. I think we should make it available to the newspapers. If someone does something, whether it's good or sharing something good for anybody, and they're visually impaired or blind, get it in one of those throwaway newspapers you get. Get it in the Washington Post. Get it in the New York Times. We have public relation people. Especially in the NFB, we have public relation people. Let's try to get our public relations people to put that stuff out for the whole world to read about it.
Yeah,
I have a blind brother. I have a blind brother who is he's just lost his vision. He is if you go on the internet and look for Arthur Clay, he is the person who made blind skiing known to the world. And blind people have been skiing for years.
I did a little skiing myself a couple of years ago. Yeah, I used to go do the cross country. What then what are some of the ways that blind people can address this situation and systemic racism and get the word out to sighted people? I will
Participate.
tell you. Yes. Anybody else? You
No,
know,
I
I
agree
was
with what
married.
Ms. Sammy said.
My light. Beg pardon?
I was saying I agree with what Tammy said. You got to be active. I think that blind people have really got to get out into their communities,
Yeah.
doing something, being active, showing the sighted world that we can be contributing members of society. So yeah, participate. Absolutely.
And,
Well,
and
you know,
Reverend,
I have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Reverend Ray, to comment on that, what Sammy and Neil said, one of the things I have people say often to me now, say, I don't see, they say, Reverend Ray, why are you talking about, and this was at the council, when I was telling some of the council members, we need to do this and this for blind people. And they say, well, Reverend Ray, I don't see blind people. I don't see people with disability. And now Metro Access has been a blessing and a curse, because now people get Metro Access from the house door to wherever they're going. But at one time, you used to have a group of blind people that used to, catch the subway together, catch the bus together, go, go eating together. You see like 4 or 5 of them, but you don't see that anymore now. So we have to be intentional in getting out in the public, and the public see that we are capable and doing things. And I don't know about this Zoom. With this Zoom now, people, in their home, zooming. So,
But they don't get out in the public. Yeah,
exactly. And I don't know how difficult that's going to be to get them back out there at meetings and all and be seen. So, but we have to be intentional.
Alert.
I have a comment as well, Ms. Friday.
Okay, and you are?
Oh, this is Libra Robinson. I apologize.
No. Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment on that as well, and I agree with all of the other panelists. But I also think that we have to dispel misconceptions about blindness and blind
hit my
people.
next thing. How do we get rid of that? What shall I call it? That's
stigma.
Stigma. How can we break that misconception?
So I would say, in my opinion, the first thing we need to do is to change the misconception is start with blind people, okay? Because we're the only ones that can change the perception of someone else who cannot see. So for instance, like we're all blind on this panel of people, and we know the things that we can do, but we had to learn it too. We had to learn that we could do that, because I'm quite sure, and I'll only speak for myself, when I lost my vision, I didn't think blind people could do anything because of the perception I had of blind people when I could see, you see. So now, so we need to start with that, and then once sighted people see, as Reverend Ray said, and Neil and Miss Clay said, when we're out there and about, they're like, wow, you're doing this, or wow, you're doing that. To us, it's something that we always do, but to them, it's wow. And I don't look at it, and I don't look at ignorance as always a bad thing. Ignorance is lack of knowledge of something, and I think once people know something and they learn it, now they know it. But we have to start within our own selves as blind, visually impaired people, and then spread of the perception of us to dispel the misperceptions.
And
you're right. And I remember, go ahead.
This is Sammy again. I think Lieber is absolutely right. When I discovered that I was losing my vision before it was completely gone, I hate to say it, I was suicidal. I thought the worst thing in the world was to lose my vision. I said, God, come down here and take a leg or an ear or an arm, but don't make me blind. What can I do if I'm blind? And somebody said to me, learn what you need to learn to be blind. So the first thing I did when I couldn't almost see anymore, I learned to take care of my money by myself. I learned to get to where I wanted to go. I learned about Metro Access. I learned all of the things that city offered. And I don't like to go home to visit my family because until my brother lost his vision just a little ago, they thought that nothing I did was right. They always drug me around. So we have to find out what we can do and do it and let them see us doing it. You know, when you get to cross the street corner, don't stand on a corner and wait till a sighted person comes to help you across. Listen to those signals. Listen to the sound you learned. Use your other senses to know when it's safe to cross the street. You know, you might have to follow a crowd of sighted people, but do it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And Freddie, Reverend Ray, another thing I want to piggyback on what Libra said about us. We have to be responsible. And one of the things that, and Neil can attest to that NFB does great, is when we get in positions as blind people, we have a responsibility of helping other blind people come along. We can't just be the super blind person and don't,
exactly.
And, you know, we have to help other, and NFB does a great job of that. And I learned from that. So when I had my first radio show in 2012, I developed 5 other radio shows under my show for other blind people. And Libra was one of them. Libra and another young lady had a show called The Girls or something like that. And we had like 4 or 5 other shows of blind people hosted shows, right, Libra?
Nice.
Yeah, so those
well,
are kind of,
you know, my husband was sighted, and I can remember a couple of times we had gone to social affairs, and one time this man, he was half high. He came up to my husband and he said, "You brought that blind lady with you? Who is she?" So my husband said, "That's my wife." "You got a blind wife? Who cooks for you?" He said, "She does." And the guy stood right
Thank
there.
your husband.
And he, right, I beg pardon?
I said, thank your husband.
Yeah, well, he's deceased now, God bless him. But they stood right there as if I wasn't alive and said, "Well, how does she get around? Who cleans up?" He said, "We got a very clean house and we have good food." But this person was sincere. He did not know how a blind person could do any of those things. So he said, "Well, when did she go blind?" He said, "Well, when I met her, we met in college. She was already blind." So he said, "My God." So finally my husband said, "That's about all you can digest tonight." You're overwhelmed, but I'm serious. They just don't know. They just don't know.
Sure.
And like you said, my husband and I met in college, and when we met, I was blind, and when he went on to heaven, I was blind. But anyway, my next question, I want a little discussion on what are some of the specific needs that are unique to African American people who are blind that we could help make available. It could be, which are unique to the African Americans, their experiences, like one another. What can we do? Like telling them what is available, Braille. Some of them don't even know canes are available.
This is Charles Kearney. My address is one of the things that I found, got one of the biggest institutions where you get information and learn different things, and that is the public library. So I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many things that's going through, especially the accessibility department, because I know when I first started going there, I think there was Miss Lewis there, and a lot of people were there, but nobody was utilizing it. I started utilizing it because I had a bunch of crazy professors up at Catholic U where to do a research paper, you had to have 14 different sources. So came down to the library to get some more sources, and Patrick Timoney was down there, and he said that he wished everybody come down to the library, like blind people come down to the library, utilize it like people who have no type of visual impairment utilize the library. So that's kind of how I said, okay, well, that's there's much we can do to try to get the information out. I mean, Braille and different things, and I know at one time you had things that they would say that, oh, this is not accessible, but fine, just because JAWS don't read everything or Kurzweil something does not necessarily mean that it's not accessible. You have to figure out a way to do things when the computer or the excessive or the sound is not talking. Maybe you may have to know okay, well, it's not gonna, if you press down there, it's not gonna say anything, but if you press it again, you where
Yeah.
you can just press enter. So a lot of times you can do different things, and like I said, first of all, you need to, I mean, there's so many places like you mentioned, the National Federation of Blind, American Council of Blind, different places, the library, any source, that you can find, you can self-help yourself, or either get on the computer, internet, whatever, do it. And because a lot of people sit around and they don't make any advantage. A lot of people are depressed because they're blind. A lot of people are afraid to go out and walk around in the street,
Yes.
being
Yes.
blind. It's something that I had to get over, but like I started going anywhere I wanted to. I mean, it was a challenge catching the train and doing things, but I found if that's my way of getting around, then that's what I do. But then
Well, you saw the
also,
touch. Go ahead.
but also mentioning Braille, it came to me that hit my attention that all the blind people in the world, about I think of it like 91% of the people who are blind in the whole entire world don't know Braille. And it seemed like that at first, before the technology came the way it is, where, you got the phones and, JAWS, internet, you talk to everything, you had to use Braille. But I think that's the reason technology have gotten a lot of people away from Braille. But I feel that.
Oh, not me. I
everybody
love
should
my
know.
Braille.
Thank you. Yeah.
Me too. But
I spent the money and got a Braille display.
Nice.
I've got an extra one if someone wants it, but it's only 14 cells. But I'm a
might
resource
take you up
gatherer. Okay, is that Ms. Pico?
Yeah, because I could use that on my desk laptop. Yeah, I might talk to you about that one.
Okay, well, you live right down the street from here in Southwest. Just give me a call.
No,
and we'll
I'm in
figure a way to get.
Northeast.
Oh, you live in North? Well, that's okay. We've got the VA. I mean, the city now has something called VetRad. I can ride to your house free. It's just called VetRad. The mayor did this program for veterans. So if there's any veterans who don't know about that, call me and I'll tell you about it and give you the phone number. But that's my job with the VA, and it's a volunteer job because those are the kind I like. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I want to. I share resources. I find out about things. If I can afford them, I buy them. If I can't afford them, I get the VA to buy them for me, and I play with them, and then I share that resource with other people. And I know there are people who are not veterans who can't get all this stuff that the VA give us. That's why I'm offering this. The VA gave me this small Braille display. It's too small for me because it doesn't read enough of the line. Sometimes it stops right in the middle of a word.
Oh,
I hate
yes.
that.
I think that's the 20 cell one, yes.
No, this is the 14 cell one.
Oh,
14 cell one.
14 cell, yes, yes.
Yeah, 14
yes.
cell, and I have a 40 cell, which is fantastic. Because
Yeah, I have a
don't want
40
something.
cell also.
Yeah, I don't want anything bigger than that, but and also if you join, I was telling Pat about the libraries thing for this. The Perkins Braille School will give you the 25 Braille display if you qualify to get into their program. They're trying to beta test the new Braille display that the library is getting, that Bart's is getting. And this is I have one of those too, but man, it's old and it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, but you can still read Braille with it. I have a note taker that I got from Humanware. It's a 32 cell Braille display. I have 2 of them. Somebody can use one of those
You
if they
got
want.
all that good stuff.
Yeah, because when it's interesting, the VA buy it for me, and if it's really interesting, I buy another one for myself, so I don't have to play around waiting for it to be repaired.
Now, what is your name again?
Sammy Clay. I met you, Miss Pico, already.
Yeah, I know who you are. We met after a play one time, but I've got to get your phone number. Yeah, I know. But you see, this is the kind of thing, this phone meeting is intended to bring out, is to share. Yeah, who are we? How did we come to be this way? And who have we shared this with?
Well,
I shared with everybody that I know.
Exactly.
Freddie, Reverend Ray Reyes, I want to comment on what Charles Kearney said about the library. And I want to publicly give Patrick kudos, because I met Patrick over 20 years ago. I was a DC blind vendor. And one of the things we realized that computers was going to be a significant part of how you do business. So the blind vendors, I was on the committee, so we voted to put some money into training all the blind vendors how to use computers, and we was going to give them a computer and a training. And so we decided we would do it with Catholic University. So we got a relationship with Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind. They supplied Bobby Bobo, and we went to Catholic University, and the volunteer there that was going to school with Patrick Timothy. So he would come and help train the blind vendors how to use the computers. Okay, so fast forward, after that program was over with, we realized that computers, you don't learn it one time and that's the end of it. It's ongoing. So I went down to Phoenicia Dempsey, that then was the head of the special library. And I told her, I say, look, we need a program where blind people could have a user group, a computer user group. And she said, well, that's a good idea, but we can't just limit it to blind people. And so her and Patrick got involved, and that's when they started these programs that they had on Saturday, and Patrick had taken it where's it today.
Right, yeah.
And so, so I really give kudos to the library for being open enough to start all those Saturday and special programs that we have now. And I thank Patrick for being a part of that.
Yeah, yes. And Dempsey, what's her name? Venetia.
Yes.
Ms. Freddie, if I could offer, because you guys have already, to your question about what are the unique pieces of discrimination that blind and Black people at that intersection face. You talked about the solution, and I'll back into that, but I think that it's important to understand that intersectionality between being Black and being blind brings that discrimination in a way that's real. So we all know that the socioeconomic consequences, result in discrimination in the school system. Many of the schools in the Black neighborhoods, get less funding, fewer resources. So as a result, those students in those school systems get a poor quality education. The federal government research to show that even in the vocational rehabilitation program that's supposed to be providing services to people with disabilities, that people of color don't get served as well. Those are all factual. They're supported by data. And in all of those instances, a lot of that is exacerbated because the individuals who are providing the services, whether it be teachers or whether it be professionals in the vocational rehabilitation system, already have low expectations for minorities because they don't have any real awareness, right, or exposure or immersion.
Yeah.
So they already bring to the table low expectations. So white VR consumer comes in, wants to be a lawyer. Sure, no problem. A black VR consumer comes in, wants to be a lawyer. No, maybe you need to set your goals, make them more quote unquote realistic, so those are real. Those are real. And I think that what you guys just talked about is part of the solution. We've got to be advocates, right, to continue to fight for the systemic change. But in the meantime, we still have to provide all that mutual support that Ms. Samuel was describing, really offering up herself and the equipment that she has, and Ray, the same. We have to continue to do that. So we have to be part of the solution while we're working for the systemic change.
And we can't just let this meeting be the last. We have to take what we get from this and work on it and do what this next question asks. What are some of the myths and stereotypes that Black people have? How can they be dismissed? And that's the hardest part. How can they be dismissed?
Well, Reverend Ray again, I had to speak to some young blind people a couple of weeks ago, beginning of Black History Month. And one of the things that that the young, and these were kids like 14, like 13, 14, 12, Black. And one of the things they were struggling with first, as Neil keep pointing out, is the Blackness, the discrimination. And so I had to break it down to them and say, look, one thing that Black History Month is that white folks realized that we as Black people did contribute to the wealth and the richness of these white families in this country built on the back of slaves that free labor and our talent and our skill. So you don't have to feel ashamed of, that you're Black, because we contribute to this country. First, we have to understand that we're not getting a free ride. We're not begging. And as James Brown, the singer, used to say, don't give me nothing, open up the door and I'll get it myself. And I say to that, just stop, locking the door. Let us come in. This
just
is what
unlock the door.
This is what the young Black dudes was. They was like ashamed of being Black. And then some Black people that's blind, that blind from birth, they don't even understand like what is a color. What is to understand the difference and why people dislike you because of this color. They can't understand. So first we have to build within our kids. They are nothing to be ashamed of. And that's what Neil was saying about it's just more than Martin Luther King and all the, people. It's so many other people like Gerd that did that, the stoplight. I mean, it's so many other Blacks that contribute. The only problem, we didn't become wealthy as Blacks because if you was a slave, you couldn't get a patent for what you did and go and get, and all of that. So a lot of the things that was that wealthy white rich people have is off the back of slaves. And this is the whole thing with this reparation now. It's nowhere in the world that the country can pay trillions of dollars for all free labor. But we have to come up with
a nice myth.
Yeah, we have to come up with other kind of ways to give back. Maybe as Lewis said, maybe free education, maybe housing, those kind of things. But the thing is, we have to make our young people understand we have nothing to be ashamed of being Black.
And I
This
would
is
echo
Neighbor
that.
Robinson. I'm sorry. This is
Go
Neighbor
ahead.
Robinson. I would like to address that as well. And I think that as Reverend Ray said, and earlier Anil said, The library will help you so much to find out information that you didn't know. Now,
Yes.
what I would say also is, like you said, you know, when I grew up, I knew about the Cotton Gin, Martin Luther King, and Harriet Tubman, but I never knew what she did until I was older. But it was this lady named Miss Margaret Williams, and she was the president of the Capital East chapter years ago, and she's passed on. And I remember being an early member, and she asked me to come to the School Without Walls, because she does a Black History program there for the children
Yes.
every year. And I was like,
I
okay.
remember her. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of the children was it was all blind students, and she would have different facts about Black people in general, as well as Black blind people, and her focus or her basis was to just uplift Black children
Nice.
in general, you know,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
put in the blind aspect. But now that you're Black and you're blind, these are some people you can look up to as well. And I thought it was the most fantastic program. And I remember going and asking people, did you know about that? And they didn't know, hadn't heard. And I thought that that's where it starts, our youth. A lot of us are a little older now. We can find out our information, but the information that we have, we need to really give it to our youth. Let Black children know that they are important. They're the same as their counterparts. They're smart. You know, in the cities, there are geniuses. You know, there are geniuses there. You know, I remember going to a school in Virginia, and when you walk into the school, it was beautiful. You go into a same school in a Black community, the wall is great. Not saying it's dirty, but it's not bright and vibrant. It doesn't
Yeah.
instill to you to learn and to be educated. And then also, if you open every book, you find none of you there. I know everything about Napoleon. You know, I know everything about George Washington. You know, I know everything about you know, just come on, just all kinds of people, you know, that don't look like me.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm not saying you
Well,
shouldn't learn about those people, but where was I in these histories, in these books? Where am
yes.
I
Yes.
there? So I think once we start to change the educational system in general, then Black children will know that they're more than what society says. Thank
And
you.
we
You
have to
kind of
focus on giving
lead
those
into
young
the
people.
next question. What are some of the myths and stereotypes that Black and blind people have, and how can they be dismissed? Now, who are some of the, I know Libra and Ray, but there's some other people I haven't heard from you much. Well,
Okay, I'm
what?
so attorney. Hey, now, it's one thing that I noticed, especially from some of my friends who are Black and blind and everything, a lot of times they're support group. A lot of times when you become blind, no, it could be your family members, your mother, your fathers, your siblings, your cousins, all that don't understand blindness. And a lot of times they put you into a position where, you know, they feel that if you ask them over or if you call them on the phone or do something, it's because you want something. That's not always so. And a lot of families
No.
do not know how to deal with people who are blind or with any disabilities. And a lot of times the family will put the disabled person or the blind person in a position where they feel that way. So a lot of times it can come from family and friends.
Yeah, yeah. And how can these myths, or can they be dismissed? What
Sure,
can
sure
we
they
do
can.
to
Sure they can. I
do
think
this?
that to sum it up, the biggest myth is, and Miss Freddie, you spoke to it when you were telling the story about the guy who was asking questions to your husband. The biggest myth is that blind people don't have capacity, right? That we can't do anything for ourselves. We're a burden on society. And the way we combat that,
Exactly.
the way we fix that is we've got to work consciously to give blind people a positive self-concept of themselves. I'm a product of the 60s, and thank God I grew up in the say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud era. And I grew up in a generation that I was proud of being Black, and all of the myths and stereotypes associated with Blackness, they couldn't stick to me because I knew better. I knew who I was. And when I
Yeah,
became
yeah.
blind, you know, luckily I ran into the same group of people with the National Federation of the Blind who taught me the same thing, that I still had worth, I still had value. There's some things I had to learn, and I had to learn the truth, right? But I still had value.
Yes.
Where we fight the myths and misconceptions that are associated with blindness.
Folks, I just wanted to step in here and say there's about 4 minutes left, so we just move towards wrapping it up. I wish the conversation could go on forever, but we made it 1 hour, so about 4 minutes left.
Is it
Okay,
possible
let
we as
me
a group can meet someplace again?
Someday, I hope we can. Let me just see what we can add to this. What can we do to make resources for obtaining current and accurate information readily available to people who are blind and Black? And do you think Black people who are blind or the other way around kind of miss out on some of the information they need to obtain?
Well, Freddie, Reverend
Mhm.
Ray, let me say this. And we keep bringing up education as Neil say, and Libra say, and Sammy say. We just have to educate Black folks. We just have to educate
Every day of our lives.
Yeah, every
Yes.
day. It's an ongoing. I'm out there in the Black churches telling Black churches it's fine to have a prayer meeting and it's fine to have Bible study, but the Black churches, every last one of them should have a Black history program. Every last one of them should have how to handle money. You know, there's basic things that Black community need to be doing for themselves. You know, I mean, we got a lot of wealth. It's 41 million Black people in the United States, and we spend over $1 billion and some dollars a year. I mean, now we could take that money. We don't own no distributors. We don't own any companies. We are just consumers, and we got to learn
Yes.
to take our money and make and leverage it to have wealth. I mean, there's no Black banks. We used to have Black banks. There are only like 4 Black banks in the whole United States. Washington here, with the kind of money we make, we don't even have a grocery store owned by a Black person. That's a shame. That's a shame. So, you know, so we have to just, you know, I mean, we got mega churches of 4,000 people go to the church, 15,000 people, and we leave that and go to someplace else to spend our money. You know, the money in the Black community to stay in there like one time, when other communities it stays anywhere from 6 to 7 to 22 times and all. So you know, we just have a lot of education we have to do in our Black community in terms
Well,
of.
how can we isolate, well, not isolate, but gather our blind people who are Black? How can we disseminate this information to them? I agree, there's a whole lot out there that they just don't know yet. And I don't know what we do to get the message across to them.
It's
Freddie.
feet on the ground, Freddie. We have to call them. We have to call them and talk to them. It's personal. It's personal.
I don't want to stop the conversation, but for the recording, let me just say that thank you all for attending today's Blindness and Black History panel discussion. And thank you to our panel for taking the time to help us celebrate Black History Month. For those attending today who want further information or have questions, or if you want to contact any of our guests, you can connect with us at dcplaccess@dc.gov or at 202-727-2142. Thank you, and you can stop the recording now, but I don't want to stop the conversation, so if people are willing to continue, that would be great.
Okay,
Yeah,
Patrick,
Yes.
I have one question. Is it possible to get a copy of this meeting from one of the recordings so that we can share it with people that didn't hear it?